everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings. They finally have a home. Today, we'll wrap up that 5-game road trip. What did we say? We wanted at least 2 wins. Anything on top of that would have been gravy. You know what? I'm going to include a 1-0 loss to a team that I thought was going to absolutely spank us, and don't look at the scoring chances because you might argue they did. Losing 1-0, having a shot at the end, did pretty good. That was a little bit of gravy on top. Little bit of gravy. Brian, already in the chat. Brian, how are you doing, buddy? I see you jumping in on the comments before we even go live. Like, you're on the old episodes. Brian, you're the man. You're the reason we do this stuff. Jared, you're in there too. Banana hammock. Jared commenting banana hammock. Didn't realize. I mean, I'm wearing, since we're going through it, I'm wearing a red sweatshirt, some khaki pants. Jared, you got your banana hammock going. But yeah, let's get into this. Mike will be here any minute. We both work. We wanted to get this out before the Piston game started. I got to tell you, I'm turning into a huge Piston fan. I'm going to stop myself. That's all we're going to say. Mike will probably jump on. He'll want to talk about it a little bit too. But Pistons start at 7. I am becoming a huge Piston fan. But this is like a renaissance, if I may, for Detroit sports right now. And there he is. Look at. See, I told you he's ready to go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Mike, I was referencing our renaissance. And what a big Piston fan I'm turning into right now.
We love fair weather fans. Come on down.
We want to get through this episode because we got the Stonies going at 7 against the Jazz. 5-2 Pistons, 3-4 Jazz. Let's go. Okay,
Jazz just lost one of their best players for the whole season.
Nice. Woo! See, everything's looking up in Detroit. But look, Mike, I led off the conversation with, we lost last night to Vegas, but we asked for 2 wins on this West Coast trip. We got our 2 wins, and I said anything else would be gravy. Mike, I think I'm gonna argue the gravy was it's actually just walking out of Vegas with just a 1-0 loss, where I was worried we were going to get absolutely spanked, and I don't mind. I don't mind being in it.
I didn't realize that was our first shutout under in the McLellan regime. They brought that up a couple times right after the game ended. I actually stayed up and watched that third period. I wasn't even mad that I was, win-loss upset, but I wasn't like, oh man, we got thoroughly outclassed. It was kind of an even matchup, and Vegas kind of did. Oh, Matt, the way that I always describe it, it's that old school Islander hockey. Let's just limit opportunities. And so they got that lead, and they just kind of buckled down and just tried and just tried to make this, limit opportunities, limit chances. We have the lead. We're going to kind of just hunker down and turtle. But I thought the Wings had some pretty good opportunities. I think all they were missing was their power play looked thoroughly outclassed by the Vegas penalty kill. So I think we were a Patrick Kane away from probably tying that game there in the third period. But I saw the update that looks like he might be day-to-day now. So it looks like he just wanted to skip the road trip and only play home games, which is fine. As long as he's playing Sunday against the Blackhawks, that's my priority.
He's prioritizing Halloween and then Election Day. You don't mind that at all.
No. Brian, by the way, saying Islander hockey, boring. Thank you, Brian.
Hey, Performance Arts aboard. Dan B throwing out there in his previous message, he saw the Pistons play in Cobo Arena, and then he says, yes, I'm ancient. But getting back to this 5-game road trip, it is nice to pull 6 out of a possible 10. Mike, before we even started the road trip, it was one of those things where I think we're programmed as this is, circled on the calendar as like the West Coast road trip, and not even the only one, because we'll also be doing at some point a Western Canada road trip as well.
Yeah.
But we circled this, and it's like, these are difficult. And you know what? You're going to walk away with losses to Anaheim and Vegas. Anaheim right now has its own Athletic podcast episode that came out today titled "Are the Ducks for Real?" I haven't listened to it yet, but a lot of teams are struggling against the Ducks right now. They're doing a lot of things right.
They looked pretty real in our game. I was pretty impressed. But I think we talked about it before this road trip began, right? Where we looked pretty solid at home. And historically, the past couple of years, doing these kind of road trips have been incredibly humbling. And so all the good nature and progress that you've made in the standings is usually completely undone once you go on an extended road trip. And for that not to be the case, and we're still, if you want to use some Olympic terms, we're still medaling those medaling Red Wings are still in second in the division. We haven't tumbled down and floated down to the bottom like a crisp autumn leaf. No, we've clung to the tree. And I feel I'm using my time wisely watching these Red Wing games.
We still got a 2-point buffer on the third place team and a game in hand in that division race. So, or I guess, yeah, we've played one more game than Toronto, who's the first wild card team, but they're 3 points back. So we lose a game in regulation to Vegas, and just this hot start is so good. Like, that's where we're sitting right now. You lose in regulation and you've still got a good buffer. We still have a whole weekend of potential failure before we have to start walking back all of our excitement.
Speaking of failure, performance out. How dare you? Kane retired. No, he's back, baby. He's coming back. He knows I'm wearing my Kane jersey with pride on Sunday. He's coming back. But Dan B saying the most concerning comment so far, that the Rangers game is a trap. Expect a disappointing performance. So I think if we're going to start calling McLellan, and I want to give him credit for it, see if he can leapfrog. Obviously, he's not going to catch Dan Campbell in Detroit, but one of the better coaches in Detroit. Wake this team up, man. There's nothing taken for granted. Now you're back, in a spot. You should win this game. You should be angry that you lost to Vegas. That's kind of what I want to see. We've seen it from Larkin so far, right? Playing like an MVP. Let's see if McLellan can get these guys going. I don't want to see that, first period break interview where we came out a little bit flat tonight. I don't know what it was. There's no excuse.
I would say if we did beat Vegas, I would agree with you, Dan. I would agree a little bit more that this would be a trap. But I do think there's some good to come from that loss in Vegas, because I think the boys saw that they can square up with the Golden Knights. I think they also saw there's some deficiencies, but I think we'll get that Rangers game. We'll have a healthy Patrick Kane back on the power play too. And we'll talk about in a second some of our deeper analytics is where I wanted to focus this episode after doing some research on our start. But yeah, just to wrap up the conversation on the Vegas game, we absolutely have to call out John Gibson's best performance of the season. 33 saves, 34 shots. Failure was just that we've seen John get spanked, bare butt, back, and balls. And unfortunately for the Wings, 24 shots, no goals, 0 for 2 on the power play. Vegas won 61% of the faceoffs. You want to talk about getting spanked somewhere on the ice? Not only did you not put one in the back of the net, but 61% of the time you were immediately chasing the puck off a faceoff. I think we've made jokes in the past about, faceoffs aren't that important, but I think that's when you're playing games that are closer to 50%. And you're just kind of flipping a coin, but this was dominance. But ultimately I'm not too bummed. I'm happy that John could potentially be swinging things around, but I can't fault a Red Wings team that very clearly, as we'll get into the analytics here, is missing a Patrick Kane.
Yeah, I think they touched on it a little bit on the commentary last night too. That you're not super excited for where Gibson's total save percentage is at for the season, but outside of like a couple super duper, elite players, he's not that far behind kind of the mean right now for the NHL in 2025. So maybe this is how he gets on a little hot streak. Feels like our defensive pairings are kind of figuring each other out a little bit. Feels like the roster is kind of figuring itself out a little bit, right? We're kind of what our pairings are, what the lines are going to be. So, I haven't given up, and I don't think anyone in this chat has given up on Gibson. It's just excited to see what comes next, especially with some very winnable games coming up.
And we're really rolling through these slides, but this is really we're going to be committed, Mike. We're going to get this done. We said 7 o'clock. We're going to do 7 o'clock. So let's talk about where the Red Wings stand, not just from this 9-5 start, but we're taking a look today at the PDO, and just a reminder, Mike, the PDO is shooting percentage and save percentage, and what you're looking at here is just. The reason that this is wrapped around this number of like 100%, or if you want to call it 1.000, is just to say that you have numbers that aren't necessarily going to regress. Or if you are playing terribly, maybe there's an opportunity to get closer to the mean. But right now, the Red Wings at 9-5, what should be really exciting as well. We did just have a game where the shooting percentage truly suffered, and the save percentage though was through the roof. You do lose that game, but very winnable. But ultimately, over the entire season, even adding in a couple of games, no Lucas, quite a few games here with no Patrick Kane, where that makes the difference on the power play. And this is not 5-on-5. This is on the whole. This is every strength. We are a .999 PDO team. If anything, Mike, and while it's not statistically significant, you would make the argument that we would get a smidge better to get to that one. But I think for so many other teams that are out there that are doing well in the standings, their PDOs are insanely high. And on a 5-on-5 perspective, which is not represented here, of course, we are the third worst PDO in the league. So that, again, you can interpret that a couple different ways. One, you suck. Or two, things will start to get closer to the mean, and you will see an improvement. So this 9-5 start is coupled with the third worst PDO on 5-on-5 play so far through the season. But overall, this team, penalty kill, power play, everything added together, and even with goaltending, Mike, that's ranked like 6th worst in the league by save percentage. They're number 2 in the division, Mike. There's a lot of good things that we've always called out statistically where it's like, oh yeah, the Wings are playing well. But when you look at the underlying analytics, there's a lot here that shows that they're going to regress. And then what happens when we get to February, March, April? We miss the playoffs. This is sustainable.
I mean, there's a few people who are still upset about these numbers. And by a few people, I mean Dan B, who says, I was told there'd be no math today.
I did the math for you, Dan. I'm telling you good. I'm telling you numbers equal good.
And Jared is saying, I want someone to tell me why Big Rass is on PP number 2. I mean, those days are numbered with Kane coming back, but also maybe it's my pie in the sky dreams, Jared, that you add a little asterisk to the resume, like, hey, Big Rass on the trade market. No, we put him on our power play unit. Wow. You don't want to miss out on that. Big body in front of the net. Yeah. That's the best I could do for that, Jared. Matt, you got any thoughts on Big Rass on the PP number 2?
No, I mean, this is another one of those conversations of just like, well, you look up into the rafters when you're at Little Caesars Arena, and there's a guy up there you can blame for what's going on here. I think it's the best you can do, especially with a guy like Patrick Kane sitting out, and you having to still build two different power play units. And I'll argue Rasmussen right now looks like a better Rasmussen than what started the season, and same thing with the goalies. Like play the hot hand.
He's jockeying with Comfort for the worst Red Wing.
Yeah. No, I mean, somebody's got to be. But, I think it's just the best you can make work at this point, especially looking at the way that these power plays are built, and you've got 10 spots to be filled, and 8 of them are going to be forwards. You're just, I mean, there's only so much there. And I think they'll just keep messing around too, Jared. Good power play numbers are coming back when Kane gets back. So
I do want to throw out Jared. He's kind of in the kitchen right now. He's doing a little cooking. He's flipping a few burgers. He's getting some fries out there because I think Performance Star was saying Gibson is still a little flaky at this point for my liking, but hopefully he settles in. That will go away. Jared saying Gibson faced 2 of the best teams in the West on this trip, stood on his head last night. And I think that kind of ties into what we mentioned earlier, that as the Red Wings kind of figure out the best version of their lineups, it looks like Gibson has looked more comfortable, right? Because in his worst games, it was also the Red Wings team-wide worst games where the forwards looked terrible, the defense looked terrible. So yeah, as they've kind of cleaned that up, and it hasn't been a wholesale lobotomy for everybody wearing a red sweater. Gibson's look better too. So I think I just want to say that to Performance. I think there's a little more hope. I would again just remember it was a team wide. I can't think of a better phrase than just lobotomy. They were so bad top to bottom that Gibson kind of got stuck with that. So have a little faith there, a little more.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said too. That we'll see some of these save percentages that we'll talk about in a couple slides here, as I'm kind of cheating and looking ahead. And the goals saved above expected, but playing this PDO game makes this more fun because you're still 9-5. You're still making all these things work, and a lot of like the shortcomings too are a difference between a guy like Gibson, who last year and the years prior with the Ducks was just getting shellacked. And now we're actually talking about a Red Wing team with a 51.5% expected goals. Now look, you're not going to lead the league with that number, but you're controlling the play, right? And I think this is even from a 5-on-5 perspective, and not just like, it's not like we have to throw in power play here to make this work. But this is something that it's always been a thing with goalies. At least it's been a narrative. It's not tied to every goaltender, but there is that narrative of like, when you start to control play and suppress shots, especially as much as the Red Wings are doing, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about those penalty kill numbers that we gave up a ton of Corsi attempts, but then the actual value per Corsi attempt on the penalty kill was number 1 in the league, which is crazy. Like, to just say like, yeah, well, you can throw it all day at the net. We're either going to block it or it's going to mean nothing. And it's one of those things though that can lull a goaltender to sleep. So I don't know. I think I was very frustrated with John Gibson. I was very frustrated when we even made the move, and I was like, this is not going to make the difference. But we're proving right now with 870 save percentage for the team that we can be 9-5. Like there's enough there to suppress your opponent, to still find victories, be a goal away from tying it up, and think about like that ridiculous Barbashev goal last night, and how the Wings were like centimeters away from taking a 1-0 lead like 2 minutes before that. Entire game flips on its head.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so far, knock on wood, I think we've kind of seen what our biggest concern was heading into the season, whether or not the Red Wings had figured out, can we get the puck out of our zone? And if it is in our zone, can we limit how long it's back there? And I really like the pairings. And even, Sherratt and ASP, I think, played pretty well. Seider looks like something happened to him. He looks like he's got an extra spark in his step.
Yep.
I don't know if it's just because he's been playing with Edmondson, so he's been taking a few more steps, into the offensive zone, but he looks objectively more aggressive. And I feel like Johansson's been really good too. So, yeah, a lot of positives, even in a loss yesterday.
Mike, or actually, Dad, can you confirm this? Are you saying this actually happened? Because I think I missed this, but Dan B throws out there, I think allowing the boys to go to Disneyland on an off day was maybe a bad idea. Dan, you can take that comment and stuff it, because Disneyland,
Dan, I don't know,
Disney World.
Matt's a Disney adult, so you got to be careful with those.
Well, hold up. All right,
let's not have this. I really got to get a babysitter so I can go to Disney World with my wife.
Let's not mislabel folks. I'm very much not a Disney adult. I just enjoy going and experiencing.
Just out a shot from all those Red Wing hats or a series of Mickey and Goofy hats. So don't let Matt trick you guys.
There are not.
There's a lot of ears back there. A lot of ears.
Do not believe him. I don't have a single pair of ears. But what we how do I transition? But what we also don't have
to the truth after a bunch of lies. But go ahead, Matt. How do I get back to telling the truth? Go ahead.
So how do we take a team that lost to the Golden Knights 1-0, but overall, like so far this season, we've seen a team that's been owning the puck, or at least not getting completely dominated. But that's where, when I was going through the statistics so far this season, we are below 50% in high danger chance share and in the bottom third in high danger shooting percentage. The thing was, and like, let me just go through this list to kind of define like where I want everybody's head at, why I brought this up. It's like struggling to finish those prime scoring chances. Like, remember, Lucas was out. We already talked about that. Patrick Kane is out. We also saw DeBrincat missing multiple chances from right out front. So you're not getting, gone. Didn't hit the net. He's flying out into the stands. So again, those high danger Corsi 4 chances aren't getting that same statistical, I don't know, just it's not being counted. Above 50% though in medium and low danger chance share, good volume, low conversion. But I'm basically, Mike, looking at this as like, well, shoot, how does this happen? It's because of those misfires by DeBrincat, the games missed by Lucas Raymond, and now the lengthy misses here for Patrick Kane. So it's just, it is one of those things where if you go through this data like I did today, you are trying to figure out like what's missing here. Like, how do we lose 1-0? You're 9-5, but there's still something missing. It just comes back to like the easiest thing in the world. It's just getting your power play back online and getting Patrick Kane back into this lineup. So I think even like the biggest weakness I can find in this team statistically, and how do you get those PDO numbers, to get up to where somebody analyzing the game doesn't have to say like, oh, they're playing a pretty solid game. Like I wouldn't mind the Athletic writing an article, us just steamrolling teams. And they're like, they're just PDO darlings, and us just absolutely spanking our opponents. But we're not gonna get there until these high danger chances start to tick up. And a guy like Patrick Kane is not only finishing, but also creating those chances too.
Well, some would say spanking your opponent would be more of a PDA instead of a PDO. But I did have Jared said back on the Disney thread, nothing like going to a theme park and spending $25 for a hot dog. Yeah, but Jared, the hot dog shaped like Mickey's wiener. You don't want to miss that. Mickey's wiener covered in mustard. That's the main reason I went back to the comments. And then Michael Script, welcome. That was my stupid wiener joke. Said, bring back Barry Smith and the left wing lock. Matt, huge comment for this episode today. And then I'm just going to go to bat for Brian. Brian's comment saying, I get tired of seeing Larkin sulk after games. I mean, I'm going to bat for Larkin. The reason that I don't want to kill Larkin, because sometimes looking at the sulking, you're like, come on, man, pick it up. The reason I can't smoke him on that is I like when my players care, and maybe he could have a better expression, but he really, really cares. And seeing like games not go the Red Wings' way and how much it physically and emotionally takes a toll on this dude, like in a way, I appreciate it. Like we could be one of those towns where the superstar is there to, get a paycheck and, just doesn't even live in the city. That's not the case with Larkin. So in that way, I'm okay with it. Oh, and then Matt, Jared is trying to stump you on one if you're ready. Explain how the Wings had more zone time on 5-on-5 compared to the PP. Makes no damn sense.
I mean, I feel like there's if we're talking about volume, doesn't that make a lot of sense? Like there'd be way more 5-on-5.
I think maybe instances. He means like per opportunity, because our PP was just completely neutered yesterday. Yeah, it was just frustrating, and it's mostly because I think once we get Kane back, it's like the Red Wings have depth, they can sustain injuries, but for this particular area, we don't have another Kane, so you need him to kind of cool things down and get organized, and I'm hoping we get to see that this week when he comes back.
I mean, let's not forget either, like the Golden Knights are a Stanley Cup contender. Like we came into this game, like this isn't one of those things where, even though the Ducks are at the top of the conference, I'm still not looking at them as a Stanley Cup contender, but you go into that Golden Knights game and you're saying to yourself, okay, measuring stick game, all the cliches, they get tossed in there. That was going to be a game you struggled with mightily. And one of those things is just that you have that high skill that the Golden Knights are paying out the behind. And some of the things that get forgotten are that even their high skill scoring guys are incredible on both sides of the ice. So they've done a great job stockpiling major producers in the NHL, but also major back checkers, major shot suppressors across the board.
A lot of thick boys on defense too.
Yeah,
that's why it was so tough to score. And again, all those things you just listed, it's part of why I wasn't upset. Like the Red Wings weren't, able to play their A game based on who was not playing, or like, Raymond still kind of getting his legs underneath them. And we were still toe to toe with, what I think is going to be one of the, top 4 teams in the league. Yeah. So I wasn't upset with that.
7-game series. I mean, I'm just bear with me here. 7-game series in the Stanley Cup Finals with the Golden Knights. You are not winning that series. You shouldn't. You don't have the same level of talent as they do. It doesn't matter how well you structure. That team is so elite in my book. Like I feel great that we lost 1-0. I put that as my gravy for this road trip. I was like, I'm great.
Yeah, we can do more victories when you get 6 out of 10 points.
Yeah.
If we go 0 for 10, I'd be like, who cares about, only losing 1-0? You lost all the games. But
yeah,
Brian does want to redeem himself, which I think he did. He said, I have a 71 jersey. So even though he is tired of
whose name's on it, Brian,
getting a little emotional, which I know can be a little annoying, he does back our captain. So I appreciate it.
Well, Brian's right there with us too. Stars just need to heal and play. I also wanted to highlight the goaltending here. I know now, now we're at time. We're at 7:00 here, but I wanted to highlight the goaltending because, again, it's funny to just keep recapping all this stuff. It's so much more fun to have these conversations when we have a winning record. We're second in the division, but we have all these things that are still going against us. Fourth worst, Mike, save percentage. Sixth worst in goals saved above expected as a tandem. There's potential for things to turn around. You look for games like this Vegas Golden Knights game to sort of turn on like a John Gibson. Did he get his worst behind him? Is he starting to learn, what is going to come at me? How do I have to set up for every zone entry? Like, where do I need to be looking? Who can I trust? Who can I not trust? All of those things. And while I'm not a goaltender, I've never played the sport. That those are things that these guys have to figure out. So while shot suppression has certainly helped the team overall, there's room to improve. There's room just by sheer luck for the puck to bounce in a direction that favors us and to take a couple of those goals off the box score. So I call this out because we're 9-5, because we haven't even overcome like terrible defense or goaltending. We just overcome bad statistics. And there's a good enough structure here, I think, to be like that. A 10 o'clock game against Vegas, Mike, that was appointment TV for me last night. I set everything aside. I am watching this game, the Red Wings Golden Knights. Like, I'm like a back end. There's nothing that was going to stop me from watching that.
Find a new Centennial jersey. Will do that for you, Matt.
You have to at that point.
I still can't stress it enough. I don't even really know how to criticize our goaltending at this point, because most of the games that are bringing all the stats down, it was just a team-wide epidemic where nobody remembered how to play hockey. So, yeah, it does kind of stink. Our goalies, weren't able to put the whole team on their back. But, I mean, when we were playing that bad and, like, making, terrible possessions on offense, and our pairings were all over the place, and ASP was just, he's just a wild horse out there. He didn't know what he was doing. So kind of getting him reined in a little bit. I think I can't really judge the goalies till the team figures it out. Then at that point, okay, now we can kind of see if these goaltenders can take us to, the promised land. It's moot. Like we could have had our boy like Magnus Hellberg back there, and I think we would have had pretty much similar results. It's just, are these defensive pairings doing enough?
I agree. It's one of those things. I mean, the questions being thrown around in the chat is Stevie Y our handicap, and Jared throws out there, nah, it's Chris Illich. I would just call out there, Mike, the turnover in our goaltending roster since we started this show, since Steve came aboard. You would think
it was like Cleveland Browns quarterbacks. Like, you can't believe how many of these guys we went through.
It's an insane number. You're right. That is the best thing to compare this to. Specifically quarterback, specifically Cleveland Browns.
Is Nedeljkovic just a revolving Baker door. Mayfield?
No, but
he just looked good the other day. That's all.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So big picture here, Mike. We are doing enough here to have a sustainable, path to victory. That structure, that control is bringing consistency, and I think everybody should just be more excited that if the goalies can start turning things around with the poor statistics that have been turned in, plus Patrick Kane coming back, Raymond like these last few games, him being back from injury, he's also looked like Lucas Raymond last year, and then DeBrincat getting scoring too. But all of this is telling me the system's working. I think if this team takes the next step and goes beyond like those PDO numbers we were talking about, and execution and production, even if they tick up a smidge just for like a couple of weeks, like they're really going to start turning heads. They're going to put themselves in an even better spot in the standings. We just got to
real quick. Jared said Mrazek is Johnny Football. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate it.
It's a good one. Yeah. But yeah, I think the other side of things are just like things could come tumbling down. I just have a lot of confidence right now that it won't come tumbling down as hard as
our
it
records.
Has.
Can we say that our record is better than we expected, and we haven't seen this Red Wings team at its best yet this season?
Yeah.
So those are two pretty promising notes there.
All right, everybody, go watch those Pistons. Cade is legit.
Yeah.
Man,
he's probably going to be all NBA, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. All right, everybody, thanks for coming along. Mike, thank you.
Yeah, and excited to talk about these home games coming up next week. So hopefully it should be a pretty nice little streak here for our beloved Red Wings.
All right. Peace out.